In the first chapter of One Piece, Luffy promised Shanks that him and his crew will one day surpass the red-haired pirates, and when forming an alliance with Law, he told him he planned on defeating every emperor. And now that we've entered the final saga of One Piece, both Shanks and Luffy are on equal standing as they are both emperors of the sea. And with every emperor making a claim for the One Piece, the final battle for the throne has begun. And with the way fate has been shaping up, it seems as if the destinies of both Luffy and Shanks will lead them to clashing with one another, and this fight could happen a lot sooner rather than later, where Luffy could finally fulfill his promise of surpassing the Emperor and proving why he really is the future Pirate King and savior of the world. Now that all the emperors are on the move and the shackles are off, it's time for these guys to prove that they're gonna surpass the older generation, and eventually Blackbeard, Shanks, and Luffy will all cross paths as they all have the same goal to find the One Piece and become Pirate King. Now Shanks has been keeping an eye on Luffy the entire time, waiting for the day he'll finally fulfill his wish of becoming a great pirate. But also there might be some beef sizzling between the two because Bartolomeo did burn down Shanks' flag and took over his territory, replacing it with Luffy's. Why? I couldn't tell you, the man is nuts. And Shanks at the end of Wano literally said that he can't let this slide, so he might be on the hunt for Bartolomeo, which could lead us into Luffy versus Shanks. But obviously it's a lot more complicated than that, as it seems like Shanks knows the truth of the gum fruit and might have some knowledge on Sun God Nika. For whatever reason, Shanks went out of his way to steal the fruit from the government, where it then ended up with Luffy in a strange twist of fate, and thus he famously bet his arm on the next generation, or well, Luffy specifically. And it wasn't until Luffy awakened his devil fruit that he finally made a claim for the One Piece. So obviously Sun God Nika is very crucial to Shanks making a move now. But remember, Jinbe now knows the truth after fighting Who's Who, so when the Straw Hats meet the red-haired pirates, he's probably gonna question Shanks as to why he stole the fruit in the first place, and thus we'll get an explanation as to what Shanks' true goal is. So in a strange way similar to Kaido, Shanks might also be waiting for Joy Boy, and after Luffy said the exact same words as his Captain Roger, he realized that that person might be Luffy. And now that he's awakened his fruit and become an emperor, his suspicions were correct. This is the man who's destined to bring a new dawn to the world. Now unfortunately we have no idea what his original plans for the Nika fruit was. According to him, he planned on selling it, but I call cap, he definitely was not going to do that. But now that Luffy has awakened his fruit and also become an emperor, making him an equal in terms of status with Shanks, now might be the time for these two to finally fight, and he can finally prove that he is a great pirate. Shanks in my eyes seems like the gatekeeper of Laugh Tale and has been waiting for Luffy to prove his worth. And now with Big Mom and Kaido out of the way, I think it's safe to say that Shanks and his crew are the strongest in the world. Even if they were here, I think they were the strongest, but you get what I'm saying. And according to Brand New, the red-haired pirates not only have the highest average bounties of all the emperors, but also they are top to bottom one of the strongest crews in the world and considered an impenetrable force with no weak spots. And when you compare both crews, you can see a lot of similarities, but also they have 10 members each, 9 senior officers, and 1 captain. They even have a pet, a monkey, and a goddamn reindeer. And speaking of crews, this battle goes even beyond than just Luffy versus Shanks, as this battle is a lot more important for other characters as well, such as Usopp. We know that Usopp wants to meet his father and is the entire reason he became a pirate in the first place. He wants to understand the lifestyle that his father chose over his own family. Although Yasopp is not ready to meet Usopp just yet, he is proud of him and loves him dearly, but this battle could prove Usopp to be the superior sniper, but also learn a lot more things about what it means to be a brave warrior and a true pirate. As eventually the Blackbeard Pirates will be fighting the Straw Hats eventually, and Usopp will most likely get his own own fight, probably with Van Augur. And I hate to say it, as of this recording, Usopp is not ready for him just yet. Neither is he ready for Yasopp. Not only is he one of the top and strongest members of the crew, he's actually pretty famous throughout the world as well. Alongside Beckman and Lucky Roo, he was also called out as being pretty infamous. So it's time for Usopp to step up and prove that he could also surpass his father and become the king of snipers. But there's also Roronoa Zoro. Why is this important for him? Well, that's because Shanks used to have daily duels with the world's strongest swordsman, Mihawk, who is Zoro's end goal, which means that Zoro will need to surpass Shanks in order to reach Mihawk. So through this battle, he will learn the gap between him and the strongest and learn what he needs to do in order to overcome it and reach the very top. There's also Ben Beckman, who is considered the moon to Shanks' son and the first mate of the red-haired pirates, who is considerably strong himself. He's the one who took out Kid's arm. So Zoro is also going to have to surpass this guy and prove that he is the strongest first mate in the world. Hopefully when both crews do fight, we get a clash similar to Roger and Whitebeard, but this time with Luffy and Shanks. That would be actually crazy. There's so much Luffy can learn throughout this fight, especially in terms of hockey, as Shanks is probably the best hockey user in the world as of right now. And there's stuff that he could do that not even Luffy could do, such as observation killing. So there's definitely a lot of techniques Luffy can learn through Shanks in this battle. The question still remains, why and how would both crews get into a fight? Besides all the points I've stated earlier, like Sun God Nika, as well as both crews being pirates and having the same goal of claiming the One Piece, supposedly, we know the Strats are most likely heading to Elbaf and Shanks was just there. It's possible for both crews to meet each other on this island, as well as Bartolomeo disrespecting Shanks and taking over his territory, burning his flag and replacing with the Straw Hats. But this situation is far more complicated than you're led to believe. Reason being, Hiruden, who's the current leader of the new giant warrior pirates, who is a part of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, also hails from Elbaf. Why is that important? That's because Elbaf might be the territory of red-haired Shanks, or at least they're on good terms, as he was literally just there when he killed Kid. Kid's not dead, maybe not, maybe he is, doesn't matter, but he got annihilated, you know what I mean. So he's in a tough situation, especially now that Dory and Broggy have returned to Elbaf, and thus they could return to their duties and lead the giant warrior pirates again. But this could be Hiruden's chance to also prove that he too can surpass the older generation, showing his worth as a warrior and why he deserves to be the new leader of the giant warrior pirates. But speaking of Elbaf, that leads us to where this fight could potentially take place. We know that the next destination after Egghead is Elbaf, as they quite literally said that's where they're going to go to after they escape. Now the Strats are pretty familiar and friendly with the giant race, as not only did they save Hiruden's life, but also Dory and Broggy, Oimo and Kashi, but also they were a part of the alliance that took down Big Mom, the enemies of the giants. So when Luffy finally gets to Elbaf, he might get a hero's welcome. But in Oda's comment, he also stated that once Luffy gets there, they will be fighting over that thing. We're not entirely sure what that thing is. Maybe it's the last road poneglyph, maybe the man marked by flame is there, maybe it's the ancient weapon Uranus, or maybe it's Elbaf itself, as him and Shanks could be fighting over that territory, as at the end of the day, they're now both emperors. There has been theories going around that Luffy and Shanks will have a Davy back fight. Makes sense, as both crews are pretty friendly and familiar with one another, and the fight obviously wouldn't be that too serious, but because they're both pirates and emperors, they're obviously going to have to fight one another, and this could be a great way for them to have a battle, especially with both crews having exactly 10 members each, and there's numerous of things that could be on the line, such as territory, crew members, the poneglyph, and this could be our chance to see what it looks like to have a serious Davy backfight, not that dumb bullshit from Foxy arc, although I do love that arc. Regardless, the Straw Hats versus the red-haired pirates will be a battle that will move the masses and shake the world to its very core, and the results might truly be unexpected, as Luffy could finally prove that he has surpassed Shanks, finally becoming a great pirate in the process, or in a shocking twist of fate, it's the red-haired pirates that come out victorious. Now, I think it's obvious that Shanks has knowledge on the sun god Nika as well as the truth about the gum gum fruit. Where he got it from, maybe Roger, who could tell, but I think a battle between him and the Straw Hats is inevitable at this point because of the points I mentioned earlier, but also there's so much layers to this fight that a lot of people wouldn't realize. For one, Shanks might actually be a celestial dragon, and the son or grandson are related to figurine Garling, as it was stated in Film Red that he might have, or he has, figurine blood. So in a sense, this would once again be Celestial Dragon versus a D member, but this time the roles are a bit more complicated because Shanks isn't an evil guy, but yet, similar to the world government, he is trying to protect and maintain the balance of the world, whereas Luffy is trying to disrupt it. And we know this battle is deeper than just pirates, it's also about the empty throne in Mary Joie. Yes, Emu does sit on it and is currently the king of the world, but we know that throne does not belong to him. However, Shanks does have the blood of a celestial dragon and was raised by a D clan member that was literally the former pirate king, so technically the throne should rightfully be his. However, that's not what fate has planned, as the sun god Nika has once again returned. But also, this will be a battle of who will rightfully claim Roger's legacy. Luffy, who literally said the exact same words as him, versus the guy that was supposed to be the future pirate king. Oda did mention in his 2023 Jump Festa message that that person will finally fight and the results will be unexpected. A lot of people are expecting it to be Shanks versus Blackbeard, but it's possible that he could actually mean Shanks versus Luffy, with the unexpected result being Luffy being defeated. That would be absolutely bananas. However, I do think these guys will fight towards the end of the series, as once these guys reunite, Luffy has to fulfill his promise. I don't think he's going to give the Straw Hat back. I think Shanks is going to let him keep it, as he's going to say it suits you better, obviously. You can't be called Straw Hat Luffy if you have no Straw Hat, unless they change his name to Sun God Luffy, which would be crazy. Regardless, when this battle eventually happens, it's going to be insane, and it's not just going to be a battle between two emperors, but a battle between gods. Who deserves the crown and the empty throne for themselves, and thus becoming Pirate King and ruler of the seas.